I was going to lead off with happy whatever day of the week it was. I temporarily forgot. Is today Wednesday?
I believe it is Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. You've got Choppadong and Tattoo in with you in the MLB Live Block Show from DFSArmy.com, where content, tools, and coaching make the difference. Of course, down there at the bottom, you got your MLB Live 10% off coupon code. You always want to hit that if you're going to take the VIP package for a whirl and come and talk to us outside of this video. But
we got a new tab up there.
Next half hour to 45 minutes or so, you got me and Tattoo in the chat room here waiting to take some questions. So pile in. I see Calvin's been in here for a while. Good to see you, buddy.
You see that up in the top, Chop?
What's up?
Up at the very top, DF Sports.
We're going to Brady Bunch this.
Season-long free month. At the end, there's like a new tab.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, you're going to have to talk about that too. What's that tab about, buddy?
I believe that's the tab, the swag tab.
It's right there, merch, right next to Discord. You got Wall of Champs, Discord, and merch.
Go get you an Army hoodie. Shit, I forgot to put my shirt on. We got a few up there. Geek looked at it today and told me to add some more stuff. So,
well, good.
I'm gonna bulk it up.
That's a good thing. Good afternoon, Chuck. Good to see you.
I'll be honest with you. I ordered a hoodie and it is like,
what's up, Phil?
Super duper comfortable.
I don't know if I have an Army hoodie or not. I've got polo t-shirts and old-timey sweatshirts. I want to say I do. I know what I'm getting it confused. I was at the poker table one day wearing a hoodie in the casino because it's cold there all the time. And I was sitting next to a guy, and I think I did. I had my DFS Army and his established the run. We're sitting right next to each other at a poker table. And I said, play dumb, right? I said, yeah. What's that? And he goes, oh, this is established a run. This is Adam Levitan and da-da-da-da-da. And it's, they're really cool DFS site and whatever else. And I kind of just turned and faced him and looked at him, and he said, what's that? And I said, this site kicks that site's ass. And he was like, what? Never heard of it. I'm like, yeah, a lot of people haven't, but those that do are really happy they found out about it. I said, you ought to go check it out. Saw him again a couple of weeks later or whatever. He's like, I checked out your site. It's pretty cool. And he goes, are you Choppadong? I said, yeah. He goes, man, you're all over the fucking place on this. I'm like, yeah. I'm not big on throwing the spotlight on myself out in public, but not that anybody really knows. It's a very, very small percentage of the time that anybody ever says anything. But I've had 2 or 3 people come up and say stuff. I'm like, that's kind of funny that people do kind of recognize people. Have you ever been recognized by anybody in public?
Not for a good thing.
Not for good.
No. But I know there's a VIP that lives within, a couple miles of me, but it could be more. You never know. That's
what these guys are. One of my friends, really, really close friends, we hang out all the time when we go out with adults and stuff like that. And this gal goes, do you know my friend so-and-so? And I said, no. I said, the name doesn't sound familiar. And she said, yeah, he said he found your videos on YouTube. He saw that we were friends on Facebook or something. And he said, do you know that Chip Meyer guy? And she goes, oh, yeah, I've known him since, for 20, 25 years. They're our closest friends and blah, blah. He goes, no way. You know those guys? It's like, she's like, what? Who? Because I never talk about it in our friend groups either. None of them play DFS. None of them really. And she's like, I didn't realize that people knew you. I'm like, well, they really don't. But once in a while, you come across one.
When I was talking to Josiah Sunday when he came over, we were talking about, first getting the Army and everything. And he was like, Geek was like a celebrity.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, I completely get it. I was just like in awe when I would see like he'd feature my comment or something like that. Yeah. I'm like, oh my God. I'm part of the show.
We probably, I don't know, 8 years ago or so, 6, 7, 8 years ago, something like that. We went driving up through the Northeast and did a tour. And I texted him really quick and I said, "Hey, we're going to be in town in a few weeks. Do you have time to grab dinner or something like that? I'd love to, get a picture, throw it out to the Army crew, whatever, break bread, blah, blah, blah." He goes, "Oh, yeah, definitely." He goes, "Let me know when you're in town. Come over to the house, give me directions, all this."
Uh-oh. He's being throttled, I think. Talking about Geek. Oh, chop it down. All right, well, it's just me right now. So y'all are effed. I will wait for Chop, and he's sharing the screen right now, so can't do much with that. But if anybody's got any questions, I'm going to just kind of use my cheat sheet here. Yeah, I kind of enjoy somebody leading the group, and son of a bitch. Yeah. This really threw me off. So, all right. Don't talk about Geek, and you won't get. He's back.
Mobile, my computer died. The internet kicked out. So we were ready for it.
Oh, don't worry. I was doing great without you.
I'm sure you were. I couldn't hear a word of it. This is great. Couldn't see your face either.
I mean, I did not panic.
I
I
like it.
didn't,
You just said, "Oh, he's
just
gone."
kept on rolling.
That's sweet. I do have some of my tabs up on my screen, so maybe we can get there if maybe that stuff didn't go dark on me, but it probably did. So we'll see. I might be flying blind. Anyway, to finish that off so that we can get rolling on the show, I probably looked like Fresh Prince at his front door when I knocked because I was just like, and he's like, "Oh my God, that guy's actually real. He's a lot. He lives. He's a real dude." But no, we had a good time. I can't share my screen. Can you share yours?
Let's see.
If not, you pick a tab, any tab. Just no porn, please. It's a family friendly show.
Yeah, that's the problem. Let's see.
You got to close all
Extra
that out.
camera. Share screen.
There
But
you
it's
go.
going to be. All right, let's see.
Pick a tab, any tab. I'm going to be just like everybody else today. Now, if I'm looking mobile, I can see what they see, which is like, it's tiny. So I get it. And I should make sure I'm off my Wi-Fi good. So, because it still kind of keeps trying to hitch on you. So hopefully we can make this work. Um, let's dive in for the people. Because I saw about 30 or 40 had piled in when we were still yakking. So, what do we got today? You got 8 games. Is that right?
I do believe.
And we only had weather to worry about. It wasn't a significant postponement game in Minnesota, but it was a significant in-game delay. I think it was 80% or something crazy. But that was the only real weather game. Other than, once again, it's just hot as shit everywhere, as everybody knows. At least a lot of the games, not all of them, but a lot of them. And I need to get, hopefully, to the Dom station. And our pitchers, the chalk, it looked like we're about 4 guys: Wheeler, Ryan, Yamamoto, and Logan Webb, and then some others. And I know with Carnage, a couple of those guys, K scores were up there, so that's good. I noticed that Wheeler and Yamamoto specifically. And tonight's another one of those nights where we're looking at Dodgers. Do we fade them? Do we play them? It's not as bad as last night, even though we're on a smaller slate. But it is obviously bad. They're expensive and in a great matchup. It's just the Yankees look like they're in a good spot tonight to finally do some hitting.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're gonna do about the Yankees. There you are. You're on the old leverage tab. That's good. What what did you what did you think of pitching? Let's start there.
I get probably Logan Webb's probably one of my favorites, but Zach Wheeler's right there. Max Fried makes me slightly nervous.
Yeah, me too.
and George Kirby, but we got the weather concerns there. And then I just got like tier 2 is like Ryan, Yamamoto, Gordon, and Boyd.
How do we feel about Yamamoto and Coors? I mean, I'm okay with it.
I mean, yeah, I only gave him 3 stars. Makes me a little nervous because Colorado hasn't been complete crap recently at home.
Right.
But yeah, I think for 8,800, yeah, I'm willing to take the chance with his.
And, that's what I noticed too. Obviously, it's the Minnesota game, but I'm more confident in Yamamoto than I am Joe Ryan.
Yeah.
More confident in him than I may be even in Max Fried. So
Yeah, especially in that ballpark.
Probably more confident than I am. Yeah, it's an $800 difference, but probably George Kirby territory. But that's the Minnesota game again.
Yeah.
And that's not good for the pitching. It's okay for bats, probably, but it's not great for pitching. So, I mean, I would probably avoid, those two guys, Kirby and Joe Ryan. I probably would avoid them just on weather principles alone.
I mean, you're probably going to have to. I mean, if you want Dodgers, you're not going to be able to get Webb and Wheeler.
No.
Webb and Wheeler. So you might have to, take Yamamoto or Clay Holmes.
Yeah, I saw. Who else did I see down there? Edward Cabrera against the Giants was interesting. I know that the DS likes the Giants. They're a little bit chalky in leverage stacks, and they're generating some leverage tonight if they go off. I don't know if that's because Cabrera's pulling at least a little bit of ownership to get cheap to get into Coors Field. There's some strikeout potential there. That's the only reason I note it. It's not. It's kind of middle of the road in terms of matchup strength, but he does have some. There is some strikeout potential there, and in tournaments, that's okay if he fails. We're not using him in a cash game scenario.
Yeah. I mean, San Francisco is such a pitcher-friendly park, so
Right.
I guess you always, can you use Cabrera? I don't mind San Francisco tonight. I have them listed as tier 3.
Okay. Yeah. I saw DS liked them too in terms of when I was running some lineups when I had internet. I was running through there and it kind of liked them in some mini stacks and some whatnots. And I was like, I don't know how I feel about that. I had other teams that I like better. But I mean, if it's me, I don't know how much I'm on Webb. I'm definitely on Wheeler. My second choice is probably Yamamoto. If I really need money, then I can probably go to a Cabrera type. I'm sure there are others out there, but I just don't see myself paying 10,000 for both. And I would definitely be on Wheeler over Webb.
You're definitely not getting many Dodgers if you.
No, which I can take it tonight. I'm really indifferent. Last night I was pretty sold on the fade. It didn't exactly work out. St. Louis and Chicago went off, so that was good. But the Dodgers didn't didn't score 15 or anything, but they did score 8 or 9 or whatever the hell it was. I noticed that my boy Muncy did not hit a home run, but my boy George Springer did. And he didn't hit it off of the guy that he had the BVP off of. So
Yeah,
it was kind of a cheap shot, but I'll take credit for it anyway because I would have been on it had I used him as a one-off. He didn't pop up in a one-off, and I didn't think before I submitted my lineup to go make sure he was the one-off because whatever I had, I liked better. It sucks because I think he picked up 4 RBIs. I don't know if it was a slam, but he hit a home run, had multi-hits, and he had a big fantasy day. He would have been very helpful. But I don't see much else in pitching, do you?
No. I'll say I stacked Milwaukee last night, but fortunately, one of those guys was Ortiz.
I wouldn't afraid to use him early on the slate today either against Skeens. I actually faded Skeens on the early slate today strictly because Milwaukee's so hot. I was like, this dude's he hasn't been that great lately, that dominant, over the last month or two, and he's run up against a hotter than hell Milwaukee Brewers team. I don't think that he is necessarily the chalk he was supposed to be at 60 some odd percent. I was like, that's the easiest fade on the slate to me. And he got roughed up. But I don't see a lot jumping out at me right now on Carnage Report other than just kind of, again, play it kind of mostly straightforward, maybe a little bit here and there, take some strikeout upside. But the bats look pretty similar. It's Dodgers,
Yeah.
Yankees, Cubs are in a decent spot if Fetty's not great. Tampa Bay again, although Waka doesn't give up a ton of power, usually ground ball pitcher. Looks like Atlanta's in there. I like Philly tonight. Who else did I pick on? I want to say it was Yankees and whatever. If I look at leverage stacks, it was not, for me anyway, organizing by implied run total on leverage stacks. There were, 5 or 6 teams above a 4.8. If I use Dodgers,
Yeah.
great. It's fine if I use the Dodgers. I don't trust the Yankees, but they're in such a good spot. They're a little bit, owned themselves, but I'm not coming down. I don't know. Chicago, New York Mets. I liked the Mets tonight. I would say the Mets and Philly with some Tampa, maybe some Chicago or some Yankees, somewhere in there is about where I would land on my second teams. I think I liked the Mets and Philly as my number one team the best. So if I had a tier ranking system, I would have put them probably tier one outside of the Dodgers. I'm talking about fade the Dodgers. Dodgers
Yeah.
to me, Dodgers are an obvious tier one for me if you're going that route. But if you're wanting to take the contrarian leverage route and fade them, my tier one teams, if they were not on the slate, would be the Mets and the Phillies. Um, have the commenters guess yours. I can't see the comments since I'm on mobile, but you can probably see it and see if anybody wants to take a guess at who your tier one teams would be. Because you'll have to, I guess, tell me. I would assume you're talking a little bit more Dodgers than I am, so you're probably a little higher on them than I might be. Because I just know one of these 3 games, they're at least one of these 3 games, maybe 2, they're not going to perform as well and be in the nut lineup. I don't even know if they were in the nut lineup last night.
I'm not sure. I just kind of listed them as a separate
Right, separate entity.
tier. So yes, they're not. Let's see. Yes, the Cubs are in my tier one.
Somebody got Cubs for you.
Yeah.
Cubs versus Fetty is interesting. I'm not going to complain.
I don't like just throwing the obvious people out there.
Sure. Well, this is a game again. Baseball's so volatile. Obvious very rarely pans out. Oftentimes, it takes getting a little bit less than obvious and then being right.
The other two, I can tell you, play each other.
Oh,
Ooh, there you go. Yes, Tampa Bay, which should obviously tell you the other one, possibly.
possibly it should. You're that high on the Royals, huh?
Mm-hmm. And I actually have St. Louis right there, but they're actually wait. Yeah. I got St. Louis, I guess, as a tier 1.5.
Okay. I like the way they're hitting. I like the weather here in St. Louis. Matthew Boyd has me a little off the Cardinals. Like, I don't think he's going to be giving up 6 to 8 runs that often. But, I mean, can it happen? Sure. I think Fetty gives up runs more than Matt Boyd would, but tough to say. And they
Yeah.
went off last night. I don't know if they blew their wad last night or not.
And all the sims that I have here, like that got ran, only two. Obviously, I'm sure it's not going to be exact, but only 2 teams on the slate have above 5 runs.
So you got this as a lower scoring night based on simulations?
Yeah, like you have the Braves 3.91, Mets 3.65.
How much do you trust the Sims? How much do you trust that data when you run it?
It's fairly accurate. I mean, to a point. I'm looking back at what they had.
So what does that tell you if it's projecting to be a little bit lower scoring night? We've got 8 games on the slate. We've got 16 offenses. That's enough. And you've got only a couple teams scoring more than 5 runs. Does that tell you to focus on those couple of teams, make them your bigger stacks, or does that tell you to maybe come off of the 5x2 and go 4x3, 4x2, 3x3, something like that?
I'm just such a stickler for 5-2, but I could go 4-3, and that's kind of why I like games like Rays Royals and Cubs Cardinals, because I mean they're some of the only teams that even are in the 4s. I got Braves, Mets, Reds, Houston's in the 2s, Marlins 3s.
Yeah, I was just wondering how to more or less interpret a night like that. If you don't see if you see a bunch of teams going off, you want to really hit those stacks really, really hard. But if tonight looks like more of a balanced scoring night, then you can almost be a little less extreme with your lineups and be a little bit more balanced in the building of your lineup as well.
Yeah, really, it's like the Yankees and Dodgers are the 7.29 and 5.83, and then it's everybody else way back.
And that was according to the Sims that you ran. Those were the only 2 over a 5, and it was a 7 and a 5.
Yeah, 5.83 and 7.29.
Well, then if I'm you, I'd be all in on as big a Dodger stack as I can build. And if I can get a 3 stack, great. If I can get a 4 stack, great. I'm probably not getting a 5 stack, unless I'm at the bottom of the order again. But yeah, it's just food for thought for people out there listening, that on a night like that where you've got a little bit of evidence. Now, if you trust your evidence, that's the thing. You have to be confident in what you're doing and the numbers you're running and what the evidence is telling you. You have to be confident in how you interpret that. But let's pretend that that you are. It's your numbers. It's your thing. So you're like, oh yeah, I really like the way my numbers have panned out over the past, and yeah, I think we're on to something. And tonight looks like a low scoring night. Well, shit, I might do a 3x3 Dodgers and whatever, or a 4x2 and do 2 Dodgers and 4 Yankees if I can, or something like that, and try and be as heavy in those 2 games as I can, and then take whatever I can somewhere else. But I'm with you too when you say I'm not going to break by the 5x2, because the 5x2 generally wins. The thing is, it doesn't always win, and it'd be nice if we could predict when it's not going to. And that's why that kind of alarm bell went off in my head when you said that you ran some Sims and they kind of pointed to that. I was kind of like, well, maybe tonight's one of those nights where a 5x2 is not the optimal.
Yeah, I'd say for accuracy, it's 2 point. The Sims have so far over 1,188 games, 10,529 runs, and there's been 10,279 actually scored. So a difference of 250. So, it's fairly accurate.
Okay. What did you have? You had tier 1. You had, who's in tier 2?
Let's see, it was Kansas City, Chicago, Cubs, Tampa Bay, with St. Louis right there. And then it was Yankees, Colorado, San Francisco.
Okay.
I really just mainly concentrated on the teams that were at least in the 4s,
Well, again, that's if you go by implied run total, some 60-70% of the time, the teams that score over 4.5 runs, Vegas predicts will score over 4.5 runs. You've got a couple of the good lineups right there in that batch. So yeah, no issues there. Do you have anything sneaky sitting out there that you see that lower chances of going off but could? like a Seattle again, or
I was
well,
trying
that's
to get back
weather, but
to
Minnesota and
love.
Seattle would be lower owned on the bats for sure.
Yeah.
They're going up against competent pitching each, but if that pitching gets knocked out early and they have to go to bullpens, I mean, maybe one of those two teams explodes.
I mean, all the ownership is so close together, except for the Dodgers and Yankees. I don't know what's necessarily sneaky, you know.
Right.
I mean, except for Dodgers. I mean, Houston and Miami, which I really have no interest in.
Well, I might be
Colorado. I mean,
I
I
might be
could.
trying Dodgers Yankees if I could get 5 of those bats in my lineup, maybe 6, I'd be happy. Otherwise, like I said, I would fade Dodgers entirely and be on, Mets, Phillies, Yankees, something along those lines, and hope for the best. Um, Being more contrarian. But if I was building sensibly for smaller fields like you do, I'd be up at the tops of what my Sims were telling me for sure.
Yeah. Let's see. Let me just do something cockamamie just to make a difference. Oh my god, I am not a laptop person.
Well, we've stuck you on the wrong side of this broadcast.
So if you just want to run it raw, we're kind of looking at blah blah blah. I just like to kind of get a general idea of what it's trying to shove in your lineups,
Mm-hmm.
which obviously it wants to shove Dalton rushing must be super cheap, 3,400 Dodger.
Man, I'm telling you, my internet is in and out. It's crazy.
Let's see. 4-3, you said?
I mean, you can. I wouldn't say that it's required, but if you want to mess around with it and see if you can get something to happen.
My computer wants to be a complete asshole today. Let's see. I'll just do 4. Let's see what it tries to give us just off the jump.
In the meantime, while you're poking around with that, I'm going to throw something out to the crowd that's completely off topic. Um, there's a guy, I forget what his name is Pin something. It's a geography channel on Twitter most of the time, and he asks a trivia question. A lot of people have probably seen it because I think the guy gets decent impressions and decent views. And he asked today, usually asks, what state has the most Burger Kings or something crazy like that. Well, today he asked what country in the world has the highest body count of people that they've slept with per person. I was like, oh, I'll turn the volume up and listen to these responses. That sounds like fun. So I've got number 1 and 2 in my head. The commenters should fire away while we're poking around with DS here and see what country you think has the highest body count per individual that they've slept with in their lifetime. The
Columbia.
answer, nope. And if you've ever seen this guy, that's what he does. When somebody says the wrong answer, he goes, no. He's funny. And the United States is not it. The United States is way, 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 way down the list. It was funny. He was like, United States apparently doesn't have sex.
We're a
Which
pretty frigid country.
most married men would agree. But yeah, if you see answers, throw them at me because I can tell people yes or no while you're getting lineups.
Brazil, Australia.
Yeah, Brazil was a very popular answer. No. Australia, yes. Australia is not number one, but Australia is number two. They have like 13.5 average body count per person that they've slept with. I think that's pretty up there for an average.
You don't want to know mine.
Well, yeah, we're not asking for personal information on this show. You might share your social security number before you share your body count. And for any women out there, if a guy asks you what your body count is, lie.
Yeah.
Don't tell him the real number. Cut it in half. Tell him that.
Don't tell a girl your number.
Yeah, I would imagine they don't like that either.
No.
That's why it's such a baited,
Haiti, Japan,
loaded question. Got any other good guesses out there?
Africa. That's a continent.
Right. And that was the thing too. People were saying Asia and Africa, and he was like, "No, those are continents, not countries."
Some country that doesn't have a strong religious stance.
Yeah, I would say no, because the number one country, I think.
Estonia.
Nope. I think the country that is number one is fairly religious, not prude. Let's put it that way. You know what? I mean, you can get in the right area of the world if you think about where societies mistreat women. Then you can probably get to the right area of the world where the number one country is. And no, it's not Iran,
Saudi Arabia,
or Iraq, or Saudi Arabia, but it's in the region. And that ought to be all the hints I should give to somebody. Somebody will get it based on that, probably. What you got for lineups? What do you want to talk about while we're firing firing that trivia off?
I've ran 4 lineups trying to just do Dodgers and Yankees, in the 4 and 5 man side. So this is an example of what it's trying to get you,
Mm-hmm.
Fried and Yamamoto, Webb and Fried, Yamamoto, Webb, Fried. But, you're definitely going to have to take some lower order guys.
Yeah, usually when you spend up money, spend up. That's what you got to go.
Yeah. So that's the only thing that, takes me off of some of, like Dodgers, Yankees, just the money is tough. Turkey.
That's the one.
Djibouti. Turkey.
Turkey's the one. It's like some 14 and a half or 15 people average body count. Number 1 was Turkey. 2 was Australia. 3 was New Zealand. And in terms of all of those up over 13, 14 people body count wise, my guess would have been Netherlands. They're pretty open sexually. But the United States comes in at 4.5 as the average body count in the United States. So way down the list.
We have some non-effing people.
That's what I'm saying.
I think about all the porn stars that live here that are
Right.
You're really increasing your numbers.
Well, I mean, you would think that Bonnie Blue is doing enough for England on her own.
Yeah. I wonder how they come up with that crap. I mean, you can't ask everybody.
You got a big enough Twitter following.
100 people we asked.
Right.
Let's see what else.
Yeah, what else you got? Because I can be done today. I don't have a lot, and without my damn computer at my disposal, without my computer, I've got nothing. So I apologize to people for me being quiet and boring. I mean, if you like that style, that side of me, quiet and boring, comment, tell us. Yes, I'll shut up. But
what's a small slate too? So
Other than that, I'm usually a chatterbox, and I have not been today.
There wasn't a ton of BVP tonight that was like, whoa. So, maybe some dong calls or
Yeah, I wasn't
like
able
that.
to do. I wasn't able to do a lot of research in that area, but you could give me a Schwarber, Real Muto, Turner, something out of Philly. You could give me a Alonzo. I mean, you might even give me like a freaking random Brett Beatty or something out of the Mets. Since those are the offenses that I like, those would be offenses I'd be looking to call bombs from.
I have let me scroll down because my brain forgot. Corey Seager from not on the slate, but the Orioles game. Cal Raleigh is obvious.
Mhm.
I like Trent Grisham.
Not bad.
They were my top guys. Because I'm not going to say Judge and Otani. That's no shit.
Sure.
That's not bringing a whole lot of insight. Let me tell you guys how much I know about baseball. Judge and Otani are really good. So
Well,
I don't think anybody. If
I
you're
think
playing MLB and you don't know that, you probably shouldn't be playing MLB.
Well, I think that you're sharp for knowing that.
Marlins would be sneaky, but definitely not something I'm going to worry about in small field. But GPP, yeah, absolutely. Let me tell you about Otani, and you're not going to believe this. This kid from Japan comes over here, and he thinks he can hit and pitch. Turns out he's right.
I'd have to see it to believe it. And I mean, he might start off okay, but I think after about 4 or 5 years of doing that, he's headed for Tommy John. I mean, that's just my opinion.
Or fall into a gambling situation.
Yeah, but you know what I know about the whole Korean culture, and what they leave that to their assistants. They leave the game. They don't want to be implicated themselves, so they put that off on their personal assistants and make them do the gambling.
I like Otani though. No, I'm a big fan. That's me and my buddy always joke. It's like I think that Otani kid, like he just might make it if he keeps practicing.
Yeah, I think the dude's. I think the dude's first ballot Hall of Fame. I think that he is something that we've not seen in our lifetime before, and absolutely 100% face of baseball today.
Oh, and what he brings from Japan.
Yeah, just the uniqueness. Well, I said Korean. I should have said Japanese. But you know where I was going.
I knew what you meant. But yeah, that's probably
All right. Well,
what I got. One more thing, because I was gonna say my gospel contest selection.
Right. Hit your satellites up.
Yeah, satellites. You can get in some for 10 cent, 25 cent, whatever. I mean, if I'm going to run a lot, just throw it in there, and you can win a ticket to hell. Sometimes it's to the, son of a bitch. World Baseball Championship Live,
Yeah, you
like
can
that.
definitely.
It's how me and Burns bankrolled, a season of NHL qualifying. I mean, it's hard to pay the entry fee all the time. $100,
right.
$250 entry fees. So, hit them satellites. They're people usually throw strange ass shit in them. So
I know Scott Newman's done it too. We have to sometimes because they're more top heavy than top heavy.
Yeah.
I know that he has. I know Scott Newman's done that too. I know I've done it, where you just throw a bunch of money into the satellites and you work with what you get on those cheap tickets. You can find close to lock. You can find a lot of overlay in those things where they give out 12 tickets and there's only 17 people entered. There's a ton of stuff that you can find that you can do in those contests where they almost turn into cash games. And then you'll have, I don't know, 50 tickets going into this contest that's 2 months from now. Or the opening day NFL season, you'll stock up a bunch of cheap tickets for some $30 buy-in kind of thing. And then whatever you collect out of that, that contest that the satellite buys into, whatever you collect out of that is generally more than what it cost you to get into it. So it's a good way. It is a good way to. The only trick to it is you're locking up money for a while. So if you want your money in and out, in and out, in and out, you don't want to see your $1,000 balance go down to $200 or whatever. Then they're viable. If you're sitting on $100 and you want to go enter a bunch of $4 contests, well, that's not going to be a way to go for satellite hunting.
And there's a ton of $1.25 dime.
Right.
You don't have to play the big ones.
No, absolutely. You can get way down in the cheapies, and absolutely. Good tip.
Yeah, I was looking at I saw a bunch of like best ball tickets and stuff like that for NFL, and so yeah, it's a good way. I mean, it helps you play in a larger field. I mean, not larger entry contest without having to pay that entry fee.
Yep, 100%. 100%.
Shit, if you min cash, you've really done something.
Definitely right, and that's all you need to do is min cash those lineups because you're paying a quarter and you're winning $10 or whatever. So you really recoup your money quickly.
Like the 10-cent ones are for a $13 ticket. All right. You get in there, you probably at least make 20.
Yeah, 20 to $25, and that's a lot of dimes.
Yeah, I mean,
it's very much a smart way to go. Good, it's a great tip. We've not mentioned it on this particular show before, so it's good for people to hear.
Yeah, because I always forget. I mean, I forget to do it myself a lot.
Yeah. So, and it's good to do last minute, like from now until lock, to kind of cruise, have a couple of cash safe type lineups, and then go looking for that overlay. And if you find a lot of those contests that are not filling, they're going to give you a number of tickets that is greater than like 50% of the people that are in the contest, not what it would fill at, but like where it's sitting now. Put your cash lineups in there and just play cash games with them and play those for satellite tickets or hybrid type lineups where you're playing really, really safe. Correlate with some stacking a little bit, and then just go freaking take the bacon, man, and parlay it up. Really good.
And just
really good
overlay
idea.
in general, you can catch at the last minute because DraftKings will try to pop open another contest thinking they can fill it.
Right, but that usually
like
requires
$12 single entry, and it's like, oh, let's open up a 24-man at the last second, and then 12 people get in it.
Right.
So go over there 703, 704, and just watch.
It's a great idea. Well, all right, man. I can be done.
Yeah, I'm gonna go have a heat stroke out there working on my mower. So
there we go. Well, for Tattoo and Chop and Darth and Razzle and all the MLB crew and DFSArmy.com in general, thanks for watching.
Thanks
Thumbs up.
Watching. Thanks for putting up with me.
Right. Thumbs up. Thanks for the comments, and use that MLB Live coupon code down there at the bottom. And hopefully we see a few people on the inside asking more questions here after the show.
See you in Pasta Friday.
You got it, buddy. I'm going to let you hit the kill switch because I don't have access to it, I guess. And we'll be done when we're done.
Kill switch, engage.